And of course, I'm sure you saw some of the contestation this morning in the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. But it's that process of contestation that makes America such a strong society. It keeps it going. And the second remarkable strength that United States has is that if China has access to 1.4 billion resourceful people, United States has access to 8 billion people. Because the best talents from all over the world, if they're looking for an opportunity, they try in one way or another to find their way to the United States. And they know that if they're good, if they're capable, they'll rise, they'll find the opportunities in American society. And that's why United States, in the United States, some of the largest corporations, in fact, some of the largest corporations, not just in the United States, but largest corporations in the world, are run by people who are not born in the United States. So the head of Google, Sundar Pichai, was born in India. The head of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, born in India. So you have this incredible talent. And that's something that China cannot replicate. So that's a competitive advantage that the United States has. And the third remarkable strength that the US has is that it has a remarkable culture of innovation. That's why in the leading fields, it's always Americans that come out with breakthrough advances. And we've seen this just recently in the field of AI. And until 2-3 years ago, I remember people telling me, oh, China will have an advantage in AI. China's got these huge data pools, and China will leap ahead. And lo and behold, United States leapt ahead in the field of AI. So that culture of innovation is amazing. And I can tell you, when I spent 2 weeks this year at the University of Pennsylvania, when you spend time in a leading American university, you can feel it. You can feel it. You can feel this drive, determination to excel and to do well. So these are all remarkable strengths, which is why future historians, when they look back at our time, will be amazed because they're seeing this contest between two remarkably strong and powerful societies. And so it's anybody's guess as to how it'll evolve. Now, so all this brings me to the next question. What difference does it make whether Kamala wins or Donald Trump wins? And here there's a paradox. On the one hand, I can confidently say nothing will change because this contest, as I explained earlier, is driven by structural forces, not by personalities. Whether it's Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, or anybody else, the US-China contest will continue. It's driven by structural forces. But on the other hand, everything may change because the style, and sometimes to some extent the substance of Trump's and Kamala's responses to this US-China contest clearly will be different in many significant ways. And I'm sure that if you are a leader of China trying to decide who's better for China, is it Donald Trump, is it Kamala, it's a very tough choice because both have their advantages and their disadvantages for China. And maybe that's one way of me spelling out the differences between the two from the point of view of China, how will China be impacted by Donald Trump or by Kamala Harris? So what are the advantages of Donald Trump for China? Well, the number one advantage is that unlike Joe Biden, and probably unlike Kamala Harris, who worked very hard to get the allies of the US to come along in this contest against China, and this is what the Biden administration is most proud of. They feel that this is no longer a contest between US, China. They've tried to get Japan, South Korea, Australia, the Europeans more involved in the contest against China. But as you know, Donald Trump doesn't believe that allies are assets. He believes that allies are liabilities. And so he's always asking, what have you done for me lately? And as you know, he tried to increase the spending by Japan and South Korea even in his first term. And when he comes back, he will probably insist that the allies pay more. That's going to alienate the allies. And I'm told that he may even ask Taiwan to pay more. So that's how he treats his friends and allies. So if he alienates allies, that's a plus for China. And the second thing about Donald Trump is that he's incredibly erratic. And because he's erratic, he will also alienate other countries. And in contrast between an erratic Donald Trump and a predictable China, countries will say, okay, I'd rather work with a predictable China than with an erratic Donald Trump. And so that's also a plus. And another possible plus that Donald Trump could provide is that he's a deal maker. He is prepared to sacrifice anything if it thinks it will be good for him and it will be good for the United States of America. So, and this is why Taiwan has got to be very careful. I mentioned earlier that you're a pawn. Taiwan will be easily sacrificed in a deal if something can be obtained in return for China. And geopolitics is a very cold and cruel business. Countries have been sacrificed, territories have been sacrificed consistently in geopolitics if you're not careful. And Donald Trump will have no hesitation. I mean, as you know, even in his first term, even though South Korea had been a very strong and close ally of the United States, he didn't even consult South Korea when he decided to go to North Korea. That's the kind of person he is. So that may be an asset. But of course, Donald Trump also poses dangers to China. Because, as you know, his Secretary of State in his first term was Mike Pompeo. And after Mike Pompeo stepped down, I understand he came to Taiwan to give a speech here. And in that speech, he recommended that the United States should recognize Taiwan as an independent country. Now, Mike Pompeo is sophisticated enough to understand that that's a declaration of war. I'm surprised he recommended it. But if the United States was to recognize Taiwan as an independent country under Donald Trump, then Taiwan will be at war. So you can see, therefore, Donald Trump, why China may not be too enthusiastic about Donald Trump. Now, in the case of Kamala Harris, clearly, she's much more predictable. And so you can expect to have a continuation of the policies of the Biden administration towards China. The pressure will be there, but it won't be erratic. It'll be predictable, and China can manage the predictable level of pressure. Kamala will, of course, keep the allies on board. That will be a disadvantage clearly for China. And Kamala, of course, will keep up the pressure on Russia and Ukraine. And she said so in the debate today. So in that sense, she will be just effectively a continuation of Joe Biden, but of course with a lot more energy and drive than Joe Biden had. So you can see from the Chinese point of view, there's no clear preference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and they will live with whoever is elected by the American people.
姐妹们总烦恼脸上细纹、干燥与暗沉，现在起跟我一起放心交给 KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹系列。KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹系列，它添加5种 EGF， 专门防止肌肤老化，强化皮肤修复，增加肌肤弹性水嫩，轻松抚平皱纹，换回青春自信。KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹，护肤露、全效精华、精华霜，即刻启动冻龄密码。